Am I on? Is this thing on? Let me check. What's up, y'all? This is Montre. Just doing a live chat. So if you guys come in, go ahead, just join in the chat out there. My conversation today is going to be about the Mandela effect. And when it comes to Mandela effects, you get to a point where a lot of things, you realize life is fluid, things keep changing and aren't as they were anymore. And you get used to it. If you're just now coming into the Mandela effect, it becomes a thing that kind of disturbs you, and you kind of lose your mind for a second. You're just like, oh my God, what is going on? Especially when you see things change and then they change back, and then you're like, oh, what is going on? But your idea of reality really changes, and your idea of what is possible changes, and your ideas of potential changes, because you realize that you are the master of your fate. You're a captain of your soul. You can make things happen. You can control your world. You may not be able there's a lot of outside things that you can't affect, and maybe the powers that be are trying to manipulate that and keep people asleep and keep people from doing things or control the masses so that they can change reality. But you ultimately can change your reality. But that being said, that's a long intro for the Mandela. What changes? I don't want to focus on the changes themselves, but why? Because I think there's an intelligent force that is taking certain changes, trying to give us a message. This is my whole idea: is that, what I feel is that all these changes are specific. If you don't get distracted by channels that try to find changes in everything, the major changes that for sure, for certain, I think they're trying to give us and the idea of heaven and earth, going from the heavens and the earth to the heaven and earth, is very particular, because this is the beginning. This is Genesis. It's about a new beginning, or a beginning. And to have a heaven and an earth, why would it go singular? And I was thinking back in Revelations and how it was talking about there would be a new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth was created in Genesis. Also a new Jerusalem. Like I said, I don't want to get all biblical and religious and stuff like that, but that's biblical prophecy that a new heaven and a new earth would be created, and a new Jerusalem would be created. So I'm wondering, is that what we're experiencing right now? And we don't even realize it. Has a new heaven been created and a new earth been created, and now we are existing in it? And the new Genesis and New King James is actually telling us that God created heaven and earth. So is it a sign telling us this, that God has already created this heaven and this earth, and that we are now existing in this new reality, this new existence? Also, with that being said, I wanted to also side note that Revelations 9:11 about Apollyon being it. And Apollyon, also synonymous, well, that's what his name was in Rome, and only he was an angel in the Bible in Revelations 9:11. And they said this is what his Greek name. The only thing Greek that I've heard with Apollyon is Apollo, and that's the sun god. And I wanted to make reference to that because the Bible makes Apollyon, or the destroyer, in Revelations 9:11, being released from his pit. So this goes back to CERN, and they having the picture of Shiva, the statue of Shiva, which is also the destroyer, and people talking about how they're trying to open a portal or open a black hole, and that they're releasing Shiva, which is synonymous with Apollo. And could that be a biblical prophecy being fulfilled? of releasing and opening the pit and releasing Apollo, the sun god. And when I tell you that all these secret societies, they worship this sun god, NASA, they worship this sun god. NASA just is a secret brotherhood, a secret fraternity of a Masonic brotherhood, and they worship the sun god Apollo. They do. It's really ridiculous. But all of these institutions, they're all fraternities, they're brotherhoods that worship Apollo. That's just basically how it is. Oh, my TV done gone off. Anywho, so I'm talking about Apollo. I'm talking about Genesis. I'm talking about the new beginning. What else did I want to talk about? Before everything just shut off. It's really crazy. Anything else happening in my apartment? Okay, so, I had found what you guys need to Google is the one-eyed Apollo. And this is where we're talking about the whole Illuminati stuff where everybody's always covering their eye and stuff like that. They had found a statue in Gaza about the one-eyed Apollo statue. And the one-eyed god, who I believe is Apollo, or Apollyon from the pit, is the one that, not only that NASA and all these brotherhoods that they worship, the sun god, they worship the sun god. But I also believe it's the whole Illuminati thing, the whole, it's so obvious. The music industry does it all the time with other celebrities. You can't be famous until you do some one-eye iconography. Hollywood, they put it in the movies. Thor had one eye. Odin in Marvel's movie, he had one eye. Nick Fury has one eye. Cable on Deadpool 2, he's got one eye. Even in Black Panther, his father has one eye. Black Panther, when he goes into the other realm, if you look at his father's eye, it's a fake eye. One eye symbolism, because they're giving homage to Apollo. And this is the secret societies that they worship. This is what's going on, and it's all they're just doing it, not letting anybody know. They're not really they're revealing it, but they're revealing the information. And then there was the gods of Egypt, Horus and Apollo, all the same thing. So we can go further back from Greek and Roman. We're going to go all the way back to Egypt and Horus. So the god Horus and the one-eye symbolism and the eye of Horus and the Egyptian symbolism behind that is, this is the god that they're worshiping. So it goes all the way back into Egypt times. I'm still trying to figure out who, I'm not quite convinced of that yet, but I know he's a part of the House of El. And you see a lot of symbolism of that. Even with Superman, you see the House of El. And that's not something they made up. That's something that's actually real. The House of El is a god. Enlil, the Sumerians, what else? It was a family of gods. Who's in my chat room? Who do you, loaded question. If honestly speaking, I think it is really the secret brotherhood, whatever secret societies that we have here on this world, they're all working together to artificially cause this Mandela effect. I think the Mandela effect is something that naturally happens. It does happen. I think we do shift realities naturally. But what's going on now, I feel like it's man-made. I feel like this is pushing us. It's pushing us further. I think somebody is using science to make something artificially happen. So if it's CERN, it might be CERN. It might be a common. A friend of mine, he's been keeping up with the Mandela effect too, and he thinks it's time travel. And I said, well, it could be time travel, but time travel doesn't, land mass changes. You can't go back in time and change land masses. So it has to be a complete dimensional change. It has to be a complete, changing of how reality is. And from my perspective, the only way you can change land masses and change body structure and how people are biologically create family names and control. The thing is that this world is not real. This world is not real. This is a matrix. So let's go back, way back to when the movie Matrix first came out. When the movie Matrix first came out, it was great. The internet was really even at its greatest epitome. It was telling us stuff about what was going to happen. Kind of prophetic in its way. The movie, and the main character's name was Tom Anderson, which was the actual name of the guy who created MySpace. And MySpace was not created during the time the movie Matrix came out. There's so many deep things about that movie. And I think it's not real. I think it's actually a matrix. It's actually some type of simulation, biological computer, not computer like you see, like you have in your home. It's a biological computer that can be programmed, maybe on a spiritual level. Let's say a spiritual computer, something. It's not real. It's real to us because we're experiencing it. But it's something that's created. It's a simulation. So whoever's in charge or whoever's inside this matrix with this is learn to control it, and you can control it as well. We just have to take time to realize that we're inside of a simulation and we're inside of this matrix, and we can control the matrix too. But there's somebody else inside this matrix, and they're trying to control it and manipulate it and make it happen, or change things and make things happen. So hopefully that answers your question about that. So much going on. And that's what I'm saying. This is why it's so much information, and everybody has their opinions about the Mandela effect and what it is and what it's not. What is in a Mandela effect and what's not? Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about too. Because oh my God, I've seen so many videos. When I first started noticing the Mandela effect, it was like 2014. And there wasn't that much stuff about it. And I started noticing big things. And like I said, everything had a message. And a lot of stuff, I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's a Mandela effect or not. I don't know if that's a Mandela effect. There are even some of my own memories. I'm like, I'm not sure. Especially if it doesn't have a real meaning to it. And I noticed the things that really have meaning to me are things that I know for without a shadow of a doubt that I remember. And it's not remembering something in your head. It's remembering something in your heart. There's two ways of remembering things. You can remember things and you know things by heart. I still do acting. I do theater. And when you memorize your lines, you don't memorize your lines in your head. You memorize them in your heart. You know your lines by heart. And when you know your lines by heart, you never forget them. It works. People who try to act and do theater or film or whatever, and they try to memorize, go into acting, they do theater, because theater is a challenge because there's no cut. You have to do it live in front of people. You don't know your lines by heart. If you're trying to memorize them in your head and you get in front of people and something fucks up, you're going to forget your lines. But if you know them by heart, you know the feeling behind the character. You know the feeling of why they're doing what they're doing. You know what they're going to say. It's like a song that you know by heart. You know the feeling behind the song. For example, you've heard a lot of music, but when you break up, you remember a song. You remember that first song. You know the song that was playing when you broke up with your high school sweetheart. You know the song that was playing when you were having sex for the first time. You know the song that was playing when you kissed that girl or that boy for the first time. Why? Because it's in your heart. So when you know things in your heart, you know it. And this is what the Mandela effect is about. Things are changing, and you know stuff with heart, and you know it in your heart, not in your mind. You did not misremember it. You know it in your heart. That is not the same. And that's the difference. That's why can't nobody tell me like, you just misremember it. No, because I remember things two ways. I either remember it or I know it by heart. And by heart, I can either hate it or love it. And there's a lot of stuff that I hate, but it's a Mandela effect. And I remember it and I'm like, ooh, I hated that thing, but or I loved it and it was something I engaged in and it changed. Like Berenstain Bears, that was a book I loved. I loved the Berenstain Bears. Charles Schultz, I loved Charlie Brown as a kid. It was in my heart. What are you saying? Curious George Tell gets me the most. And see, I don't know that much about Curious George. Curious George wasn't my thing, as a kid. So with me, it goes either way or, because I'm like, I liked Curious George, but I didn't love him. So Curious George is kind of like fuzzy with me. It's like, did he have a tell or didn't he? It's really fuzzy with me because I didn't love it. Let's see. E.T. told, I feel people cannot criticize Mandela effect if they haven't experienced it. Then they can say they're forgetting it wrong. At this point, I know. And then Noah is saying Tiananmen Square for me. And that's a very emotional time. With that tank, that's an emotional thing. So you're going to remember that in your heart because it's like, ooh, that's a kind of an empathetic thing. So that's something you just don't forget. People who are not experiencing the Mandela effect, I question. I really do, because it's like, okay, there's a lot going on in this world. And you telling me that none of this is happening to you? Really? Okay, I'm questioning your reality or what, okay. Because something's going on and it's happening big time. Okay, so that was my tangent about knowing things by heart. This is what happens when I go on tangents. All right, so another one that was big for me is the Karate Kid, the bandana with the Karate Kid. And I'm telling you that it's not so much the changes, but the meaning behind the changes. Okay, so he had the symbol of the sun on his head, the sun god. Changed to the lotus flower. The lotus flower, the meaning of the birth, change. I think there's an intelligent force behind this Mandela effect trying to give us what is happening. And for his bandana to go from a sun sign to a lotus flower, which means rebirth, means that whatever intelligent force is making stuff happen is talking about this world is being reborn. We're being reborn. And that's why I say I don't see the Mandela effect so much as a negative thing, because we are really in control. There's a lot of negative energy and there's a lot of dark energy kind of flowing into this too. There's a lot of people trying to make bad things happen, but reality. Truth Seeker just came in. Just had an argument to preach a lot. That said, we are all misremembering and we should not trust our own mind. Preachers, my one of my close friends, he was just talking about preachers and he was like, with all the biblical changes, why aren't the preachers talking more about this? Why don't we have more preachers talking about this? And he was talking about how he was tired of the money that a lot of these preachers were just saying, and he was just like, he was about to, this is Facebook world now, so he had preachers, his pastor had unfriended him because he was asking questions about the Bible and stuff, and then his pastor was like, "You aren't ready to know this or whatever," and that's usually the answer they give you when they don't know the answer. So usually, what happens is too many pastors and preachers are too concerned about their pocketbooks and keeping people in the seats and keeping that money rolling to really be focused on the truth and what is going on with this world. Hey everyone, hey y'all. So I I'm that are really speaking to. They're trying to give us signals and signs of what is happening. I think we are going through a rebirth time with the whole Genesis thing, going from heavens. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth to the heaven and the earth. And I'm not a religious guy. I'm not that. Just because I'm not a Christian doesn't mean I can't look at biblical prophecy and say, that might be real. So the heaven and earth, if there's a new heaven and a new earth being created and we're existing in it now, what's the new rules? What are we playing by? What's going on? What's happening? That's what I want to know. So as I keep on researching things and trying to figure out stuff and try to answer questions and try to find the right questions. That's basically what I'm trying to do, is trying to figure out, is this, the world, I believe the world just rebooted itself. And like I said, if this is a simulation, then the world just rebooted itself. That's what I'm thinking. The world just did a big old reboot. And that's what we're kind of existing in now. So, this is the one I wanted to tell you guys. Please do not, and I had to tell, I'm telling you this because I need to tell myself this as well, is that, this heaven, it sucks. It only sucks. You can make it better. Remember, make things happen. This world is so digital. We need to start writing stuff down. And it's been on my heart so much. It's almost like this whisper in my head. Write stuff down. Print stuff off of the internet. Create your own internet, your own physical library. When you find something interesting, don't just save it on digital copy. Don't just save things on digital copy. Print it out. Make a note, because I don't think this internet is going to be around forever. Well, no, that's something serious. I feel like it's like the Library of Alexander, the Alexander Library. And back in the day, Alexander had a great library that had so much information, and people all over the world could access knowledge. And when the world, the first thing they did was burn down the Library of Alexander. And that was like the internet back then. It had all the information. And the internet right now is under attack. So really, guys, when you find some good information, you find a good video, like, some whatever on YouTube, download it. Put it on CD. Seriously, if you find a good page, put it in a notebook and label your notebook. Have your things that you love off the internet and print it out and just punch holes in it. And I'm just telling you guys because I need to tell myself to do it too. And have some physical copies of the internet, of the best things that you have on the internet, because internet that want to destroy things. And I think the internet is going to be the first thing that they want to block, take away. But if you have a physical copy of it, they can't take that away from you. They can't take it away from you. They can shut down websites and whatever. But if you got a physical copy, you can share. I'm just saying. So that's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it. I'm talking to my Lord have mercy. It's Saturday night, and I'm on YouTube. I'm too cute for this, y'all. I need to go. I will have a good time or something. Do something other than be a geek and talk about the Mandela effect and the state of our universe and what else. I just don't have anybody to talk to about these things, and you guys are the only ones. Have a good night, guys. Thanks. Love somebody. Love you guys. Peace out.